takeaway from the Lakers?
That's exactly it. When LeBron is assertive at the beginning of the game, he sets the tone for his team. And we've seen that in every playoff series. They lose game one because he's passive. He comes out in the game two, he's aggressive. He has 18 in the first half. And he sets the tone for his team. I don't think it matters what Anthony Davis does in a game. He can have 30 every night, but he should just go into every game like, look, I'm about to get 30.
Yeah.
Game over.
Yeah. I mean, it's year 17, and like I said, we're still very impressed with what he's doing, but that's a grind every single night to get 30 is tough. What I like and what I took away is I love Rondo on the court with him.
Yes.
Because it takes so much pressure off LeBron having to score and make plays for everyone else. Rondo is out there but Paul knows, Rondo's a quarterback out there. He's getting people in positions. I see they're running that 1-3, I guess that is, with LeBron at the 3, pick and roll. So I think Rondo's decision-making and just grittiness on defense really helps this Laker team out there. But I agree, LeBron has to be in attack mode for them to win.
Speaking of Rondo, though, Matt, I'll start with you. I feel like the issue with him in recent years has been consistency, right? As he's getting older in age, there hasn't, you can see one of these games once every 3, 4, 5 games. How much more does he need to give them as far as consistency?
To me, it's really not even about the numbers with him. It's just his management and leadership out there on the court. I mean, you're going to live with him missing a couple threes, but he makes the right play 9 out of 10 times. He knows how to play passing lanes. He can guard James Harden. He gets everyone organized. And like I said, the most important thing he does is he takes that pressure off LeBron having to make a play for everyone on the court all the time, along with us wanting him to score 30 points.
Yeah, you're exactly right, man. It's not about Rondo's numbers. He can go out there, have 10, 5 points, and he can really change the game. What I saw out there, he changed the pace of that game.
Absolutely.
It's a different pace out there than when Rondo's at the one of LeBron. LeBron pushes it at times, but Rondo, he's going to pick up full court. He's going to push the ball every single time. And the good thing, he's knocking down open shots, too. He's starting to look like Jason Kidd when he got older. Early in his career, you remember it was like Jason Kidd couldn't really shoot, then he became a deadly spot-up shooter. We're starting to see that in Rondo, and he changed the pace on offense with the way he pushes and his defense.
Well, the key is to guard him, right? Like, just make him live enough where they have to guard him.
And they're doing that. They definitely have to do that.
Yeah. And, look, the Lakers got a lot of contributions off the bench yesterday besides Rajon Rondo. Markieff Morris had a big game. Kyle Kuzma had a big game. How important is it for the bench, Matt, to get
They're going to
going?
need that. I think every night the Lakers are going to need at least 60 between Bron and AD, and then they're going to need someone off the bench to come and play well. I think Kyle Kuzma could be that guy. Obviously, Morris was last night, but Kuzma can do the small things. He's so accustomed to getting a bunch of touches and a bunch of looks in previous years, and I think he's really had to adjust his game as the older he's got and understand that he can do the hustle stuff and still get 16 and 10 every night, and I think his ability to run the floor, there's not a person on Houston that can keep him off the offensive glass.
Right.
To him to be a dog on defense, the small things he does, when he touches the ball, he won't feel like he has to really, he'll be in rhythm already, and I think he's going to be a very important key because they're going to need either him, Caldwell Pope, or if it's going to be Morris to be that third kind of wild card, third option by committee that they're going to need to move forward.
Yeah, Rondo's going to continue to be the key for that group because they don't have a guy that you can say, here, take the ball and carry our offense, make a play one-on-one. So Rondo's out there making plays for these guys. That's why you see Morris get a lot of open shots. And that's why you see Kuzma get driving lanes because of that. So he's an intricate part to that second unit, and they're going to have to use him 20 to 25 minutes a night because that's going to be key.
Paul, AD looked more active, I thought, yesterday. I felt like he settled for a lot of mid-range stuff in Game 1. He still hit plenty of those shots, but he was more active around the rim. What did you make of the difference between Game 1 and Game 2?
Yeah, I mean, he was aggressive. He took advantage of his size. They posted him up. They saw the mismatch. Yeah, you get a little frustrated when he takes these jumpers on these small guys, but the thing is he's making them.
Right.
And now when they get up on him and try to take the jumper away, he's attacking to the rim. And so he's a problem for them. He's going to go out there and get 25 and 30 that night. And we saw that in Game 1. But it's all on LeBron. Like I said, he has to get 30. We know AD is going to get his. LeBron has to be aggressive.
I want AD to be just meaner. And I don't know if that's in him.
Yeah.
Because when he decides that I don't care who's guarding me, big or small, you're not going to stop me. Everyone's saying how good of a job P.J. Tucker, which he did in the initial game, played defense on him. But there's no one when AD has his mindset that no matter what, I'm either going to get to the basket or get to my spot. No one's going to stop me. And I want to see more of that AD because I think that takes less pressure off Bron. He's going to stay fresher longer throughout the playoffs.
To your point, we saw some of that in the Portland series, too, where people were wondering, hey, he needs to be more assertive in that spot. Speaking of someone who's not assertive, we'll go over to the Houston side, but we got to talk about Russell Westbrook and his struggles. Last night, Westbrook had 10 points and 13 rebounds, but he shot 4 of 15 and committed 7 turnovers. Here's Russ after the game being brutally honest about his performance.
Yeah, I don't know. Right now I'm just running around. So I gotta look at film and figure out how to be effective. Some is my fault, some are missed calls. But it's on me. I don't point fingers at nobody else in my own game. I own my mistakes, I own what I do. And that's that.
Matt, how worried should anyone be about Russ's play right now?
I think Russ will figure it out, but I just think as great as he's been, the numbers he's put up, how historical he's been in the context of the game, his next evolution is understanding the pace of play and changing his pace of play. Russ has always been a guy that we've marveled at because he's probably the most athletic, strongest, fastest point guard we've ever seen, and he's used that to dominate this NBA. But as the injuries start to pile up, as he starts to get a little bit older, the next evolution in this game is being able to change speeds and pick and choose in his spots and really letting the game come to him. Because even when he scores, sometimes it's still nasty or almost looks forced because he ended up getting it because he is so athletic and strong. But when he takes just a step back, maybe downshift a little bit and pick and choose his positions, he's still one of the best out there.
Yeah, I think he just has to go back to understanding who he is. Because when I watched these last two games, he settled. He shot too many threes. When Westbrook was dominating middle of the season, he stopped shooting the three. He was going to the basket. He was like, right here. He was open. Take a couple dribbles and go to your mid-range or try to attack the basket. That's when he's at his best. So he has to understand who he is. I'm not concerned about his shooting because that comes and goes. But he has to not be sloppy with the ball.
Yes.
If he just has 2 turnovers last night, I truly believe Houston Rockets win.
Yeah.
I truly believe it.
And as good as he's been, it's almost scary sometimes down the stretch when you see the ball in his hands if you're a Houston Rockets fan because, the one game where you thought that James would have the ball, obviously Russ ran and threw the ball out of bounds in, the last 10 seconds of the game. So like I said, he's been historically one of the best point guards we've ever seen. But I just think now it's mental and understanding his age and his body and where he's at and just that next step in his game is just downshifting a little bit.
Another thing you have to wonder is this injury affecting him? He dealt with a quad, coming off. It's hard to go back from 0 to 100 in the middle of a playoff run when you miss a couple weeks of basketball. So he's starting to find his rhythm. Maybe the injuries bother him. That's what I said. Pick his spots, but he can control his turnover.
Absolutely.
A lot of them are unforced turnovers.
Right.
So if he can do that, I think the Houston Rockets have a chance.
I mean, look, he does have to develop the old man game, right? Everybody gets that point in their career for sure. But, Paul, to your point, in January and February, he toned down the three-point shooting, and he was shooting only about 2 a game. He was shooting way more than that before that. But look at yesterday, as the Lakers basically aren't even guarding him. There's nowhere near anyone near him in that situation.
There's a reason. No one even close to him. Like they want, and it's almost similar to what Miami is doing with Giannis. It's fool's gold. You want him to maybe make 2, 3, or 4 because that means he's going to take 10, 12, or 13 of them. You know what I mean? So Russ has to find his spots, like Paul said, one of the best mid-range shooters in the game. I'm saying from right there, cut. You know what I mean? You cut, draw the defense, and either score. Like, I don't know if his quad is well enough to score. I think he is if he's out there. But even if you're not, you're able to make a play for someone else. But there's a reason why they're leaving him wide open, and I think he'll figure that out.
And one more thing. As a coach, and I'm coaching against Westbrook, I'm going to ask myself, I'm going to take the lesser of 2 evils. Do I want Westbrook shooting threes or causing havoc going to the basket?
Right.
We'll give him the 3. Go ahead. We'll give you that all day.
Because you can't take away everything. You
'Cause
can't take away his full game. You can't take away his paint presence and his outside shooting, so you're going to live with his outside shooting.
Absolutely.
We'll see how the Rockets evolve for Game 3. But coming up, lost their MVP in the second quarter to an ankle sprain last night, but that didn't stop them from forcing a Game 5. A controversial call, though, late in Game 4 involved Jimmy Butler, who seemed to get fouled here by Eric Bledsoe with 1:44 left in regulation and the Heat trailing by 2 points. Coach Spo didn't challenge the play, and the officials couldn't enforce a post-replay foul call. It was obvious there, though, that he was fouled, because that's not an option in the current NBA rule book. Here's what Jimmy said after the game about that particular call.
No. I just got to be stronger with the ball, hold on to the ball. That's fine. On to the next play, and I think we did a great job of that. We just didn't win the game. There was way too many things that we did wrong that we just can't let happen. It never comes down to that play or any other play. I'm cool. We didn't deserve to win that game. We didn't play our type of basketball. And that play is just another play out of so many, They call that foul, whatever. Something else bad probably would happen the way that we were playing tonight. So we'll just be better and not have to rely on one call to change the game.
The NBA's last 2-minute report acknowledged today that it was indeed a foul by Bledsoe. Matt, we heard Jimmy say all the right things there, but 2 questions here for you. How costly was that particular call? And second, how bad is that rule?
Yeah, I mean, I remember as a player, I hated seeing the 2-minute report the next day because you knew they blew the call, and then sometimes they admit it, sometimes they don't admit it, but they admitted it here. Obviously, it was a foul call, but to me, what's the point? We were talking about this before this. What's the point of going to replay if you can't? That was clearly a foul. And like you said, Jimmy said the right things. It's in the rule books. There's no point in arguing or complaining about it, but we don't play anymore. So we can complain. What's the point of going back to replay to see who went out on if there's a foul or not if you can't actually change the circumstances without having to challenge the call? So I think that's something they need to address.
Yep.
Yeah, I think the whole thing with replay is going back to get the call right.
Period.
Period. Yeah, the ball went out of bounds, but it was clearly a foul. Jimmy Butler said he had to be strong with the ball, but I'm like, how much stronger you can be with the ball when somebody grabs your whole arm and the ball goes out? That's clearly a foul. So, something has to be done about this replay situation to where let's just make sure we get the call right.
Period.
Yeah, I guess the rule states if there's no actual foul call on that, they can't go back and change that. Had there been a foul call, like let's say it would have been, any other call really in that situation, they could have gone back and overturned it. But the refs, to your guys' point, should have that latitude in that situation.
And if you're going to take the time, because like I said, I like that they're going to replay and try to get these plays right, but obviously they stop the flow and momentum of the game. So if you're going to stop the whole flow and momentum of the game, at least come back with the right verdict. Okay, they missed the call. It's hard to make every single call. They missed the call, but at least give them the ability to say, okay, hey, I missed the call. The ball is out on Jimmy, but he actually got fouled first. Let's give him his 2 free throws. If you're going to go replay it and waste our time overall, make sure we get the call right.
Yeah, that should be the goal for sure. Hey, Chris Middleton dropped a playoff career-high 36 points in the Bucks win last night after Giannis went down. Obviously, he just took over, basically. He was the centerpiece of the Bucks offense. And looking at the numbers in this series, the Bucks have been surprisingly good when Giannis is off the floor against the Heat. In 119 minutes with Giannis off the court, the Bucks have been outscored by 32 points. In comparison, when the Bucks have Giannis, when Giannis isn't on the floor, they have outscored the Heat by 7 points in 78 minutes. So, Paul, how do you explain these numbers that the Heat are just better when Giannis is actually on the floor, the MVP of the league?
Well, you got to understand the scouting report for the Heat is designed to stop Giannis. And initially what they do, they give the Giannis the ball and they say, here, big fella, you need to go dominate, get to the basket, make plays for other people. When he's not in the game, they move the ball more. There's more ball movement. There's more body movement. There's more cutting. And so if you tell me, this is similar to how we beat LeBron James in early 2000s. They were like, hey, we scouted, we built the wall around LeBron, and we knew that that's what they wanted to do. They wanted to penetrate and find the open shooters. Same here with Giannis. But when the scouting report is not to have Giannis in the lineup, it's like, how do you defend them? Because they're moving the ball, guys are cutting, and they're getting open shots. So it's a big difference.
I think numbers can be deceiving sometimes. To think that the Bucks are better without Giannis, I don't think anyone's saying that. But like Paul said, the whole goal is to wall Giannis up, and Giannis hasn't been able to figure that out yet. And something I pointed out the other day is it always seems like the deeper the Bucks get into the playoffs, and it's crazy to say this about last year's MVP and possibly this year's MVP, I think the holes in his offensive games are exposed a little bit more. It's either all the way to the basket or they're going to live with him making a couple threes in the game. So, like I said, we talked about Russ and the next step, and obviously the next step in Giannis is developing that mid-range and that mid-block game that Anthony Davis can use, because you're able, when it comes to the playoffs, when you have 7 games to try to figure someone out, you're going to be able to build and block him off, and you literally take him out of the game somewhat.
So let's say Giannis doesn't play in Game 5. Paul, you alluded to the fact they moved the ball. They looked completely different on offense. Miami also got a little stagnant. It looked like they took the foot off the gas a little bit in that game. What does Miami need to do if Giannis doesn't play defensively?
Well, if Miami, what they need to do is like, look, this series has to be over. They don't have Giannis. They can't play down to the level, because the tendency sometimes with player, when your best player doesn't play, is like it's going to be a cakewalk. Well, them other guys on the other end are like, our best player's not playing. We need to play hard as possible to try to get a win. So Miami need to come out with the attitude they had in Game 1, Game 2, and say we need to put this series away in dominant fashion, which they can do.
And another thing, Paul's always been the best player, so when Paul was out, people like me and other guys like, okay, well now we know we're gonna get more shots. We know we're gonna be able to do some things. So that's what these guys are kind of looking for anyway. Obviously they love having Giannis out there, but they know when their top dog goes down that's gonna give everyone maybe 2 or 3 more shots, 4 shots more for Middleton, more for Bledsoe, and then more for the role players. So I mean, obviously it keeps everyone you have to hold everyone accountable, but like Paul said, Miami has to come out with the mentality they have to close this out, whether Giannis is playing or not, and get rested up for the Eastern Conference Finals.
To that point, Jimmy Butler said in the postgame as well that they got comfortable. And that's the closer look at that Celtics-Raptors series with Game 5 coming up later today. After a red-hot start to the postseason, Boston has cooled off quite a bit. The Celtics shot just 20% from deep on Saturday, and the Raptors have tied this one up at 2-2. So, Paul, what's changed for Boston?
I really don't think it's something that's changed about Boston. I think this is all about Toronto. I think that shot kind of demoralized them for Game 4, man. I mean, you go for potentially 0.5 seconds of being up 3-0 and basically putting this series away to now it's 2-2. They got to mentally get back into it.
Yep.
Like, seriously, and now the Raptors got confidence. They like, look, we the defending champs. We about to get off the floor and get up swinging because we not going out like that. And if the Celtics don't get their psyche back, the defending champs going to show why they're the defending champs, and they going to take advantage of that because they got confidence now. And they feel like they can win this series, and they feel like they can get to the finals. So I'm telling you, that shot did something to the Celtics psyche. Let's see if they can bounce back today.
I mean, I don't really have nothing to say. He said it exactly what I was going to say. Like I said, I think there's a lingering hangover from Game 3. They gave him a little bit of hope in Game 4. Shots don't fall, stuff doesn't happen for them, and now it's a 2-2 game. So I think they just have to get back to what got them there for Boston. Boston has been my sleeper pick the whole time. I still think they can beat them, although it's a game of momentum, and the Raptors obviously have momentum right now. But I need to see Tatum, Brown, and Kemba be in that 60-plus point range. Marcus Smart be that wild card. But them just getting back to scrambling on defense, maybe not settling for so many shots, attacking the basket and making plays for each other.
You mentioned Tatum and Brown in the 2 losses. They've each been up and down, right, in those games. What are you seeing differently? Is it just them not hitting shots, or is Toronto doing something different?
I mean, Toronto was tough. You can never take, never take away credit from them. It's just a part of being young. You know what I mean? You got to stay consistent. That's what separates good players from great players to superstars. You know, I think Tatum has a chance to be a superstar. Brown is right there, but it's just that consistency that they need night in, night out, especially in the playoffs.
Well, you got to understand, Toronto's been a top-tier defensive team, too, all year long. And guess what? Siakam is back because he disappeared in them first 2-3 games.
He did.
I think he's got confidence. He was a guy that was huge for them in that championship run. Kyle Lowry must have got in his face and was like, look, big fella, we need you to step up. Yeah. You know, you're our anchor. He was an all-star this year. And I think he's found his rhythm. He's a defensive anchor. But I give credit to Kyle Lowry. You know, he's not putting up huge numbers. What I see him doing, he's setting the tone for them every night.
Yeah,
both
every night, and they gaining confidence from that.
And I think that to piggyback on what Paul said, Siakam last year was the second option. You know what I mean? So when you're that first option, and that person that every night that they're going to take away your best 2 or 3 things, it takes a while. Especially he may have seen it a little bit in the regular season, but in the playoffs, when you have a series to adjust every night, he had to wake up and realize, like, it's more than just being, Kawhi burdened all the pressure last year. Now, Siakam burdens all the pressure, but I think, like Paul said also, Kyle Lowry has done a great job of staying on top of guys, holding them accountable, and then just causing a havoc on both sides of the ball.
Yeah. And schematically, it feels like those first couple of games, there was a lot of Siakam isolation, right? Whereas now it feels like he's getting the ball in different spots and places he's more comfortable for sure. All right, so this is now a best-of-3 series. The Celtics are a slight favorite to win tonight. But, Matt, who do you trust more in this series from this point on, Boston or Toronto? You said they were your sleeper picks.
I mean, I don't want to stray away from my team, the team I picked, which was the Celtics. But honestly, battle-tested, proven championship pedigree. It's hard to go against the Raptors.
Yeah,
hard to go against the Raptors.
Paul Pierce.
The Celtics have had a couple deep playoff runs. The Raptors are the champs.
Right.
I think the Celtics are ready to get over this hump, and they knew coming in, this wasn't going to be easy. It's not easy to win in the NBA playoffs. They got to accept hard, and I think they finally accepted hard. They got punched back in the face.
What did they do?
They're gonna have that mentality today. All right, it's going to be hard. We're going to be ready for that tonight, and they're going to get over the hump.
Must win tonight?
They must win tonight.
Yeah, Game 5 is huge. Normally, the winner of Game 5
this is the swing game.
we'll go on.
Whoever
to
wins
series,
this is going to win the series.
Uh-oh, here we go. That's it. It's on there. Are we going to make a bet? Or is this the wrong show for that? But we can do that here, too, if you want.
I can't bet against the Celtics.
All right, both coaches have been riding their stars pretty hard in this series. The Raptors' 3 stars are all over 40 minutes a game if you look at the way this thing has shaken out here in this particular series. Is that a concern for any of you guys?
No.
Well, these teams lack depth.
Right.
And so they rely heavily on
Boston for sure.
Well, definitely Boston.
Yeah.
Especially without having Gordon out there, they lack the depth. So they rely heavily on their starters, and you can see them getting tired late in games. And so this is going to be a game of wheels from the starters.
Now's the time. I mean, they had some time off. Obviously, it's been a lot since they've been back in the bubble. And the way I look at it, too, is they're all young. You got to think when Paul and I first played, it was play as many minutes as you can.
I just want to win.
Like I said, I play with the will to win. But when you fight for something, it means a whole lot more.
Murray inside, incredible.
Welcome back to The Jump. Let's talk about that series, Clippers and Nuggets. The Clippers blew out Denver in Game 1, but in Game 2, they produced nearly as many turnovers, 17, as assists, 20. And they look flat for most of the game. So, Matt, are the Clippers good enough to try to flip the switch whenever they choose to?
Yes, I think they are. But I also think another thing plays into the factors. They've had key members in and out the whole entire season, including the bubble. So they really haven't had a consistent run with their core guys. This is a new team, you know what I mean? So as good as they've been, and a lot of people are picking them to win the championship, including myself, they still really haven't got that main consistency chemistry down with their main core guys. So I don't know if it's so much of flipping it on and off. It's just, I just think it's going to be a bumpy road to a championship for the Clippers. It's not going to be pretty. It's going to be back and forth. There's going to be ups and downs, but I still think they're good enough as players, and then I have the utmost trust in Doc to, continuing to keep their pedal to the metal.
Yeah, when I look at the Clippers, it's been a story for them all year long. For stretches during the season, they look dominant, like they're going to win a chip, and then it looks like they're vulnerable. And that's what I saw in the last game versus Denver. I think they kind of play down to their opponent sometimes. They went out and dominated the Clippers in Game 1. They're like, and they probably thought after this they felt good, like this is going to be easy. And then they come out with a lackluster effort in Game 2. And Denver was ready for them. Mm-hmm. And so I don't expect them to be like that in Game 3. I think they're going to take it personal. I think that was a wake-up call for them, and I think they're going to go out and get the job done. I still think they'll win this series in 5 games because I think that game was a wake-up call. Like, look, Denver's not going to go away easy. So Clippers are the more talented team, believe. They got the more experience as far as deep playoff runs, and I think they're going to do a good job at setting the tone in the next few games.
And Kawhi had been pretty incredible in the bubble, particularly during the playoffs, and he just had an off night the other day.
Yeah, you can't count on Kawhi scoring under 13 for the rest of the time in the bubble. He's been one of the most consistent, efficient players we've seen in the bubble, but period. So you can't bank on Kawhi only having 13 again.
Do you think, though, that this is one of those things where you mentioned, Matt, them trying to get their chemistry? They're going to have to face another a quality opponent next. Like, Denver is, I don't believe, is in their weight class necessarily, but the Rockets and Lakers are. Is the chemistry thing something to worry about moving forward?
I don't know about worrying. I just think the more games they get, the better it's going to be. They just have to stay healthy because it's going to be next round is going to be a war. I figure it's going to be a battle of LA the next round, and I can't wait to see that. But it's just, like I said, just keeping guys healthy and staying the course.
Yeah, you can't let that be a thing, especially if you advance into the conference finals. Because you lose that key game.
No excuses.
To where you go down to 3-1, and it's a critical part. You talk about you still don't have the chemistry. It can cost you a championship, a chance at a championship. Yeah. So, now is the time for you to turn it off. No matter what happened all year long, now is the time to start figuring it out. And I know it's the bubble. You don't have home. You don't have your girlfriends, your wives, your kids are there or not there. Now is the time to figure this out.
Yeah, there's not a lot of time left to get that chemistry. All right, let's talk about Nikola Jokic, who dropped 26 points, 18 rebounds in Game 2, following the win, obviously, in Game 2 for the Nuggets. After that win, Jokic was asked why he's so patient on offense. He said this, get this, quote, "I'm patient because I cannot really run all that fast." That was pretty funny, though. So that's my only option, he said. He's been listed as questionable in Game 3 with a sprained right wrist. Paul, are you confident Jokic can continue to keep the pressure on the Clippers?
Yeah, well, that's the one matchup they can take advantage of. When you look at all the matches around the board, you know, Jamal Murray, he got 3 guys that can guard him: Kawhi, Paul George, you know, and a number of guys. But when you look down low, there's nobody that can really match up with this big guy. I mean, he's fundamentally sound. He can go inside, outside. And so, but the thing is, I'm not sure that he can do this every single night against a Clipper defense. And another thing, they're going to put him in pick and roll. And that's where the Clippers have advantage. He's not a great pick and roll, so they have to do a better job at picking on him more on the defensive end so he don't have that type of energy on the offensive end.
Yeah, and I just think every night him and Murray have to be absolutely amazing for them to have a chance. And even if they are amazing, I still don't think they have enough to advance in this round. But it's fun to see. This is one of the most skilled big guys we've seen in a long time, shooting one-footed jumpers, inside, outside, can pass the ball, can score on the block against anybody. I just don't know if it's enough. And another thing is I don't know in today's
the bubble due to injury, Mercury guard Bria Hartley found help from Aces forward De'Erica Hamby.
Me and Bria spoke before the season. She was just like, hey, can we figure something out?
De'Erica has always been a big help for me. She immediately offered to help, and her mom's been great.
And I was like, of course, like my mom will be here, so that won't really be a problem.
And I just appreciate her friendship and her family and everyone that's been helping me.
Oh. Who's your favorite player?
Mommy.
Okay,
Mommy.
well, after me.
That's John.
Thank you.
The joy and laughter the children have created extends beyond the bubble, as the personalities and antics of some of the kids have gone viral. Playing and parenting certainly has been a juggling act, but seeing these women do it all is inspiring and motivating. They've made this more than a bubble. It's become a family affair.
Gecko?
That's great stuff. Shout out to all the WNBA moms, and shout out to Holly Rowe, who put that piece together for us. Welcome back to a Labor Day edition of The Jump. I'm George Sedano, in for our fearless leader, Rachel Nichols, and we're socially distant here. Matt Barnes and Paul Pierce in the house in our LA studios. So it is crunch time, though, here on The Jump, gentlemen. Speaking of families inside the bubble, here's Denver coach Mike Malone from Friday. Take a listen.
Today's day 60. All right, so we have been here. The guys that came down here on July 7th, and there weren't many of us because we were ravaged with COVID. This, for the original crew, this is day number 60. And the reason I bring that up is because the players have their families here, which they deserve, which is the right thing to do. The referees are allowed to bring one guest, which is great for the referees. The coaches are not allowed to bring anybody. I say, shame on you, NBA. This is crazy. I miss my family, and I think I speak for me. I speak for my coaches and probably all the coaches down here. 60 days and not having access and not being granted the privilege to have my family come here, to me, is criminal in nature, and that shouldn't be at all. So I wanted to get that off my chest.
Matt, what did you make of what Coach Malone had to say?